Hello, this is Jane Stavum, superintendent of the Sioux Falls School District, and this is our podcast. Join us for an audible look inside the Sioux Falls School District, where we'll put a spotlight on the people, places, and practices of our district. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our podcast. Today, I'm a bit sad, but I've said there's no crying in podcasts today, so we won't cry. But I have with me the one and only Dr. Teresa Boysen, who's getting ready to hang it up. Retirement. Oh no, we're already starting. I said there will be none. It's hard to say the word, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
When you think about your whole career and everything you've done.
The totality of it.
It is. Yeah. And all the great people you have the opportunity to work with.
Yep.
Families and kids and teachers and community members.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part.
It's giving up a lot. And I've looked kind of at life through your lens as you've had different gatherings, and everybody wants to have a party for you when you're ready to leave. We should all have parties for each other before we leave, but it's because people want to honor the work that you've done, and it's hopefully been really fun just to be able to kind of celebrate that. But with each one, I know from some of our conversations, the finality just kind of, steps ahead. Yeah, with each one, I said I feel like we're on the conveyor belt of life, but this is one of those big points. So I want to ask you some things about the journey, and I want to ask you some things about this stage of a career. And to do that, let's go back to the very, very beginning. When you were a little kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? If somebody asked you, Teresa, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
What did you say?
I really believe it was the teacher, because again, in the basement with all your little stuffed animals, or when the kids would come over, you wanted to direct the activity.
I think they call that being bossy.
Probably. But it was just really fun. And then when you think back on your teachers and the ones that made a difference in your life, and principals too, that they were impactful.
Who was your favorite teacher?
One of my favorite was Mr. Baird in 6th grade.
Is Mr. Baird still with us?
I do not know.
It's fun when you can keep track of some of those teachers, but it's difficult if you move away a little bit from your original school. What school did you go to? Where was Mr. Baird?
Mr. Baird was 6th grade at Bancroft. So then again, we were K through 6, and we had the junior high model. So, right.
6th grade is kind of a magical year. That was my favorite teacher. Her name was Kathy Hollins, and she has passed away, but she was amazing. And when I look back at it now, I'm not sure if I would have wanted to be her principal or not, because she was a bit unconventional. But we just thought she was the coolest thing ever. Then I taught 6th grade. Did you ever teach 6th grade?
I did not. I taught, I started in a 3-4 blend, and I had the opportunity to do that, and then spent most of my time in 4th grade. I did 4th grade, 5th grade, and then went back to 4th grade and spent the rest of my time in 4th grade before moving into admin.
You and I kind of like the older grade levels. We've talked about that. My rule was they need to be able to blow their own nose, tie their own shoes, and know when they were going to throw up so they could get out of the room. Because that was always our teachers, your worst nightmare was somebody throwing up in the class. Well, so you got those opportunities. So when you were a high schooler, what kinds of things did you do that kind of fed the teaching piece?
So in high school, just really looked for opportunities of where I could be involved, maybe in the community, and with younger kids, and a lot of babysitting, which back then, that was a lot of the opportunities, because we didn't have opportunities to do the mentoring program where you go down to the elementary, or teacher pathways, which we have now. So those were my opportunities. Just
How much did you make an hour?
I don't know, but I got to buy my bike.
Oh,
So
I
that
made
was-
$1 an hour. I remember I was one of the higher paid
I was gonna say if you
babysitters.
had multiple children.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you had to have a little fee structure then.
Mhm.
Yeah, babysitting was a big part of that. I just
Right.
asked somebody the other day, do kids babysit
I
like they
don't
used
know.
to? I don't know.
I don't know if they do. Or
I don't
not.
know. Do you get babysitters, Tori? I'm putting you on the
my
podcast today.
my parents are my babysitters.
Yeah, well, that's
so,
good
you know,
when you got
yeah.
grandmas and grandpas.
Yep,
But
yep.
see, then you might try and escape babysitting at some point in your life
I
when
know,
you're
I know.
actually our age.
It's a work in progress.
That's right. So you went off to college. Did you
Yes.
major in education right away?
I did. I majored at DSU, education
Mm.
major. Came back, did my student teaching at JFK Elementary.
And what was student teaching? Was it with a couple of teachers or
Mhm.
just one?
One teacher, 12 weeks. And
Did you love it?
I did. I loved it. I know, I was 5th grade. So that was fun. And
What was tell me about student teaching? Like what was your expectation versus like what actually happened? I just think student teaching is so interesting because that's when you first really have to get up and go to work every day. Like there's no
Right.
class, there's no magical schedules, like work.
And I think for me, it was really the part of having your own set of students and getting to know the teachers and the teachers on the team. So that 5th grade team, we say PLCs now,
Mhm.
but they had their PLC. And they did, and they were well connected. So I was a part of that team, but then also part of that building community too. So that
Mhm.
you felt like you came along right away. But the release of responsibilities. So then you were able to teach, and unfortunately, my teacher became ill
Mm.
during my time there. But then I was allowed to take over the class, and so then that
Mm.
was just the realization of yes, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Well, I'm a big believer that student teaching, it's kind of like your freshman dorm experience. If you have a great roommate and a great freshman dorm, the odds of you staying in college are so much better. And I think the same is true with student teaching. I had to do 2 placements, and luckily I had my first placement first. You've heard me talk about this with our new teachers, and it was great. And the second half of it was a train wreck. And she wasn't sick, but her horses were. And so she was home with sick horses, and I was taking over a class that didn't have the greatest training leading up to my tenure with them. And that was the first time I ever had a kid flip over a desk. Did you ever have kids with behavior issues during student teaching?
Just a couple, and I know a couple times we went off on a field trip, and that was the part where you felt like you lost a little bit of control
Mm-hmm.
because they were out of their
I
element.
hated field trips.
I know. It's just like, oh my gosh, get back here. But they were there.
Yeah.
Students with behaviors or challenges,
Mm-hmm.
they were there.
Yeah. I just think student teaching, I hope that's something that never goes away. And, you know, the feedback that you get along the way. I still have the notes from my supervisor when I was doing student teaching, and I look back at those notes and I just remember how you kind of ate up what they said, you know, if you were doing it right.
Yes. And the principals that came in and gave
Yeah.
you feedback during that time. But I did my dissertation on year-long student teaching, so residency student teachers, and really worked closely with the university for that model here in Sioux Falls. And I think that just really expanded the opportunities for teachers to have, for student teachers to have multiple opportunities.
The more time in the classroom, the better off you are. All right, well, so you get through college, and back in the day, there were a whole bunch of people trying to get teaching jobs, and we were trying to get a job. How easy or how hard was that?
It was a challenge. I mean, it was scary.
Mm-hmm.
You graduated, you wanted a contract, and you waited, and there were hundreds of teachers fighting for the same jobs. And luckily, I landed my first job in Baltic, and I taught 3-4 blend.
And where had you student taught?
In JFK here in Sioux Falls.
So you were in Sioux Falls, and then you went to probably what was much more rural feeling.
Never been in a small school, because there again, elementary to high school, probably 400 kids.
Had you hoped to be in Sioux Falls?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was hard to
It was
break in.
Hard to break in.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. So I really did want to be in Sioux Falls, but loved my first 2
Yeah.
years, and 3-4 blend.
Who was your principal?
Mr. Bamsey.
Mr. Bamsey.
Mm-hmm.
Was he a great leader for a new teacher?
He was a good leader.
What do you remember about Mr. Bamsey as a new teacher?
That he was able to provide some support, and give some feedback and connect me with some teachers within that building. So to find that mentor teacher was really, really important.
When I was a new teacher, I had a very fast succession of principals. And some of them you learn great things from, and some of them you learn by knowing what not to do. Yeah. What did you know at that point when you were a young teacher that you wanted to be a principal?
I did.
Yeah, I did in college.
I knew that was the next step. And so continually looking for leadership opportunities within the building. So what teams can you be a part of? What teams that you can access additional knowledge to get you what you need for that next steps.
We had, I look back at this now and think, what was he doing? But we had this thing called HM Study Skills, and it was really intentionally teaching kids about study skills. But it must have been like the latest and greatest thing. And he sent me to be the trainer. I was the trainer. And then I came back and trained our staff. And I think at the time I probably would have been, I don't know, maybe 24, 25. Did you have those instances like, why would anybody listen to me on a veteran staff?
So I was DSU graduate, right? So coming into Baltic, I was the technology expert.
Oh.
The only one with a computer in my room.
Wow. See, cutting edge.
I know.
I piloted a computer, and I tell people it was, Tori's laughing at us.
Just a little bit.
I'm sorry, we're dating ourselves, Tori. But it was, I piloted sending down my attendance via email instead of sending a pink slip with a kid down the hall. What was your big thing that you did on that computer in your classroom?
Well, of course, Oregon Trail.
I was going to say, sign up sheet for Oregon Trail.
But then we piloted some different intervention programs for those, because there again, new teacher, blended classroom. How do you help support both groups with double curriculum? So then how do you get them into some of those interventions? But
I remember the fights that would ensue over, if you missed your sign up time, and then they were not gracious. It was probably the beginnings of the addictive quality really that we got to see, ourselves included. Man, when typing tutor came on that computer,
I know, in the computer lab, like you said, we had different opportunities to take them down to the computer lab because we only had 25 computers or 26 in the whole school.
And who doesn't want to roast to death in the computer lab? Do you remember how hot?
Warm. It was
really warm. I remember in one school where I taught, the computer teacher, she would come in a tank top and shorts. And you're like, that's inappropriate. And then you walked in the lab. No external windows, no nothing. And by the end of the day, it was a good solid 98, 99 degrees in there. And she had her temperature up on the wall to prove it. Those are some of the fun things. So did you have any weird things with any of the classrooms where you taught?
Well, I was in the basement next to the boiler room. And they condemned that classroom after I left.
Who doesn't need a little asbestos in their life?
Exactly. But there again, you're so excited to start, and you love that opportunity, and you did everything, all the extra activities and curriculars, and you love that. I taught high school art, coached varsity volleyball. And, so you drove to Baltic, double curriculum, no planning, and you loved it.
Yeah, you were double clutching. I do think the mindset is different. What do you notice that's different in mindset maybe from when you started in this profession to now?
I do believe that there's different challenges in terms of the social norms and our whole group of applicants is much less
Mm-hmm.
than, I mean, we used, like we said, I mean, I was competing with 100, 200 people for jobs. When I first became a principal, we, of course, didn't have electronic files. We came down here and looked through file
Yeah.
cabinets of applications.
Yeah.
And now they're electronic. And so I think that's different. Teachers still care deeply about their kids and work hard. It just, we have so much information at our fingertips now. I think that's a big piece. That's
And
different.
social media.
And social media. Mm-hmm.
I wonder what teaching would have felt like when we were starting if we would have had social media in the mix.
Right.
I would have loved it, I know, for the ideas.
Yes.
You know, you've heard me joke about how excited I was when I would get my mailbox magazine.
We passed those around.
Yeah,
you know,
it was like the Pinterest of the day.
But if you could get that 24/7, it looks so much
very different. Yeah, would I have sacrificed time? I mean, we took papers home to grade and some of those things that were, manual. And I just think, to me, that will always be the most puzzling thing is why is the perception that some things in this profession are harder now when so many things are so much easier back when we first started.
Yeah,
Everything was by
report
hand.
cards.
Mm-hmm.
When you did your report cards by
Yeah.
hand, you had to chunk out a day to do your report cards.
Yeah, with your calculator
Yes.
and your green grade book.
Mm-hmm.
And those missing spaces, what to do, what to do with those. I don't remember anybody training me in on grading anything. Did you get any training in on grading?
I don't remember any training on grading or report cards or conferences, so just some of the supports for our new staff with
How to
our new higher academy really does help support that.
So if you take teaching and learning, you've had the teacher seat, you've had the principal seat, you've had central office, and if you had to kind of distill it down into the thing that you've loved the most of what you've done, like what really flips the switch?
Yeah, all of it. When you think about
you have to choose one thing.
Okay. I love my teaching. I love my principal. So I think each step helped along the process because you had your 28 students, and your parents, and then you go to the larger scale and you have your teachers. Now first you're a teacher of students, then you're a teacher of teachers, and you love that, and your community got bigger. The group you impacted is larger, and then you move down here to central office, and it grows even to that bigger perspective. But I think the part that is really fun is planning new buildings.
Yeah.
And that, to be part of that,
yeah,
new programs, new buildings.
It's like giving birth. It's
a
new entity.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's a longer process, and I think once you move to central office, the systems are that much bigger and complicated, and it takes longer to see the end game. But it's amazing, and just all the work that the teams do, the buildings do, the principals.
It looks so effortless when we all show up to go, yay, new school, and the months and months and months that go into that. I also think what you said is another one of my biggest pet peeves is that when you progress through different positions within education, somehow there's this dividing line between teaching and administration. And I always say you perceive to have gone to the dark side when you want to be an administrator. But if you are truly a teacher, your heart is always a teacher. And the things that you love the most are the things that make teachers tick. And every role is needed to make the world go around for kids in classrooms. Did you feel like you were selling out when you left the classroom to be a principal or an admin at central office?
I did. Maybe, that you have that core group of teachers.
Yeah.
And you did, they razz you a little bit, but but there again, they wish you well, and then don't forget about me over here, But
can we get some extra supply money?
But right, it is, and it is. It's just all of those experiences.
Why did you think you could do it?
I think I always look for a challenge, and you always say yes and you move forward, and you know you can figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, and you know that you're not in it alone, that
No.
you have a team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The team is what makes the world go round. You said you had a teacher team, you had a great team. I know when you were principal, you've had hopefully a good team here because I'm part of that team.
Yeah.
But it is a team that helps.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think you're most proud of in that whole span?
You know, I think it's just being able to bring a team together,
Mm-hmm.
no matter whether you were even in your classroom. You have to bring a team of kids together, and that we work together and to support each other. You did that as a building principal, and then down here. So the team that we work with, the curriculum services team, again, it's the outcome for all. And it's not just a me thing. It's about what can we do together to support each other. And you do whatever you have to do. That's not my job.
But that's the difference. And that's the mindset you've had since day one is you do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And that sometimes can be the missing ingredient for things. But we also have really good people.
We have really great people.
I feel badly. I was reading about a superintendent in a faraway place that I know who quit very suddenly and talked about the workplace environment. And I just thought I feel so badly for people who don't get to do this work with that team around them because it can't be any fun. It's hard enough the way it is, whether you're in a team of teachers in a building, a classroom, here, wherever it is. If you don't get to do it with a team of people, you're just missing out. So I want to sing your praises. Because you've been everything that a superintendent dreams about for a team member. Day or night, you'll respond to my text. We can laugh, we can cry, we've supported. You just have been there every single step of the way, and I never once had to worry about it. Ever. Like, how magical is that?
It's great. And it's great to be a part of that team, you know, because I say no matter what building I've been in or what office, it's the Sioux Falls way.
Yep.
And that's everybody across Sioux Falls. Every building's been fabulous. Every team's been. And so
I always thought it can't get better. The next place I go, it just can't be better than this team. And I wouldn't say they've been better. They've been just as great. Yeah. And so thanks for being part of this team. And now I get to view the world through your lens as you tell me what it's like on the other side. I was thinking of you this weekend. What are a couple of things you're looking forward to doing if you're not full-time at work?
Right. I think that's probably the hardest thing. What will be the next steps? But it's just having some open time in my schedule.
Yeah, what's that like?
And that freedom. So really, I'm excited about that.
You like to bike.
I do. I will spend time riding my bike. Of course, some travel.
Yeah.
When people say that, what's that mean? But there will be more freedom in my schedule to do that. So I don't.
You don't have to plan around our calendar, our school calendar break.
That's what it was, a school calendar for my life.
It's like, what do we do mid-September?
Right. Ooh, we can do something.
And you're a grandmother.
Yes, and we have 5 grandchildren.
Yep.
So
yeah.
I already have a few dates on my calendar for that.
That's good. That's good. Well, transitions are great. Transitions are always scary, but you think about the transitions you've navigated successfully already, and this one's going to be just the gateway to the best part ever.
The next step.
The next step. Well, thanks for being with me.
Thank you.
For 4 years.
Ooh, it's been great.
And thanks for being with Sioux Falls Public Schools.
Great
You made a difference.
Great place to be.
I said no crying. All right, we better sign off.
Yep.